Welcome back to Ms. World Traveler Goes on Vacation. Even though I only had one full day in Mozambique, there was a lot to see and do, including a visit to a very attractive train station and taking an art class. Named one of the most beautiful in the world by Time magazine, Maputo's neoclassical Beaux Art style train station had a grand central facade lined with columns, balustrades, and balconies, and capped with a 50-meter tall copper dome. Designed in 1905 and completed in 1916, the opulent details continued inside with marble pillars, ceiling medallions, and wrought iron latticework in the main entranceway and along the platforms. An interesting blend of modern technology and old-fashioned elegance, I could imagine the days of when people dressed up to get on the train, which, of course, hasn't been for a long time. To celebrate the 130-plus year history of its public transport systems, the Maputo Central Railway Station Museum was opened in 2015 and aimed to preserve and educate. Special features included a 1914 steam locomotive, a century-old firefighter wagon once pulled by animals, Morse radios, maintenance machinery, tracks, and many other informative artifacts. I particularly enjoyed walking through the old passenger train cars, and although the seats didn't look all that comfortable, they would have been quite luxurious for the time. Our next stop was a short one to the City Market, a historic landmark built between 1901 and 1903, featuring distinctive Portuguese colonial architecture, arched bays, and a metal roof. A large entrance portal led into an airy, covered market hall where all manner of exotic fruits and vegetables were piled high, some that Cliseo had to explain what they were. And then it was off to the activity I had really been looking forward to. Batik is a very broad term for using reliefs or negative space to create images, and differs dramatically from country to country. In Namibia, they used a flour and water mixture, but in Mozambique, they used melted wax, and I was keen to learn the process. Starting with a white cotton fabric, I drew an abstract pattern that would be the basis for where to fill in with paint. The wax was prepared over an open fire just using plain white candles and stayed melted in a hot tin can long enough to apply with a paintbrush. Only applying it in the areas I wanted to leave white, it didn't take long to be ready to add color. Matolo used powder mixed with water to create the colors, which were runnier than I was used to with my soft body acrylics. Unfortunately, I tipped over the water can on my fabric, so the colors ran into each other even more than anticipated, making the pattern I drew superfluous. Something to keep in mind if I decide to do it again. When I finally finished adding the first layer of paint, it was hung to dry, before another layer of wax was painted on everywhere I didn't want black to go. Black is always the last color I add when I paint at home, and this was no different. It changes everything. Somehow the colors seem more vibrant once the black sets them off. Once again, it was hung to dry. And while we were waiting for it to dry, I had time to look around at the craft market and meet a few people.
Hi, how are you? My name is Fernando, and look around here. We've got a lot of good stuff that you could get. Oh man. Have a look on this bag. Have a look on this beautiful one. I just want to make sure that you have all bunches of color, different colors that you can look around over here. Look at this bag. It's very fantastic.
The African style of bright colors was right up my alley, and I loved looking through the bold pattern dresses, handbags, wallets, and hair accessories. I saw a number of things being made, like a man carving a door or window covering. He told me he had already worked on it for 2 weeks and still had a week to go. A man making baskets looked like the reeds were practically engulfing him, but the result utilized all the excess and yet remained completely pliant and foldable, as were all of the other sizes and shapes of baskets at the market. After looking around the market, my batik was still not quite dry, so Matolo told me he would drop it off later. I made quite a few mistakes on it. It was my first time after all, but mistakes notwithstanding, it was a fun way to spend a couple of hours, appreciate the traditional art form, and learn a new creative skill.
Mozambique had two faces, the nice and the not so nice, but that was true with every place I visited on this trip, and I still very much enjoyed my time there. Now stick around. Next segment, I have a tour to the former Swaziland to show you, and you will not want to miss it.